Hello and welcome back to the Supernatural, Paranormal, and Everything Strange. This is the Abbey Normals. Today we are going to be covering a subject that you may not be too well versed in. I know I'm not. I know some of the Abbey Normals team we had a discussion about this, and we really wanted to cover it. It is witches. Yep, today we're going to be covering witches. We also have a guest on today, but I'll let everyone introduce themselves before we roll into this.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Dan.
I'm Carlos.
And Carlos is our guest today who knows the ins and the outs of everything to do with witches. Carlos, thank you for coming on the show today.
Thank you guys for having me.
All right, so let's get right into it. Carlos, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Carlos. I was initiated into sorcery at the age of 21. And I was given the name Huehuecoyotl. Since then, I've been practicing sorcery, and I've been a guide, sort of like a teacher, to students, teaching them the basic things about magic and stuff like that. And of course, from there on, we go into like more advanced things when it comes to witchcraft and manifestations and stuff like that.
And I know this was something that I was actually kind of confused about. There is a difference between witches, sorcerers, and you were saying warlocks. Can you kind of go a little bit into that? Because I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
There's different versions and everything like that.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not that big of a difference. A sorcerer is somebody who actually works with a lot of, let's say, saints. We believe in God as well. We pray. Depends on what sort of religion you're into, whether it's Christianity or you're Catholic. We believe in, well, at least I was raised in a Catholic home, so I also believe in the Virgin Mary, Jesus, and God and stuff like that. So a sorcerer is somebody who also dabbles into that type of stuff. Has like a religious background, but at the same time is able to communicate with negative, I guess we could say, entities or energies.
Okay.
Yeah, so then there's a warlock, which is a male witch, which is, a typical name for somebody who or a male who practices witchcraft. And then there's witches, which are actually in where I come from, which is Mexico. Witches are supposed to be sort of like entities. It's not like a woman, or it's a woman, but a woman who has given her life to this craft, so therefore she has acquired really special powers, sort of like like an entity in some way. But now, of course, the modern idea is a witch is it could be your neighbor. So
Okay.
yeah, so there's two differences of witches. There's the modern witch, and then there's the old witch. At least in my background, when I was younger, my parents used to tell me, if you keep being rowdy or loud, the witch is gonna come and take you. So we have a lot of urban stories where witches take children and stuff like that.
Okay. Very interesting.
I was gonna actually ask that. So obviously, Hollywood has glamorized witches and everything into a certain point, and I know that this could probably be the whole episode, but I take like a movie, like a really really old movie, like The Craft.
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's so like far-fetched.
Yeah.
And to me, I mean, this is a belief that you have. How do you? I would say, what do you think are one or two of the biggest differences that, per se, society or Hollywood has glamorized that's really kind of not true? What is possibly something that you would look at and say, we really wish this would come out as, hey, this is really what, who we are and what we're about, that, per se gets misconstrued? And then I would say just probably those two things. Like, what would be like something that's like, gosh, I really really wish people would stop looking at it this way and possibly start looking at it this way.
Okay. So you know what? I will say I'm not a big fan of scary movies. Not because they're scary, because they don't scare me enough. Like, because of what I practice, they don't sort of have an impact on me, or right away I start seeing things that it's like, that's not how it goes, but I guess. So then it ruins the movie for me. Um, but I will say there's a new movie that came out, I would say 2-3 months ago. It's not fully, you know, accurate, but it does have a lot of teachings of witchcraft and stuff like that. It's called The Old Ways. It's on Netflix. Um, it's a really good movie, and it was actually filmed in Veracruz, Mexico, which is one of the most witchcraft populated places, I guess you could say. They say that per every block there's at least 10 witches in that whole town. So that movie is not, I'm not gonna say it's spot on, but a lot of the teachings that, or a lot of like the things that go on in that movie are pretty accurate. Same thing with the chants that they say, we say them, or at least the home where I come from, we say those same chants. We say sort of similar chants. So that movie is really good, at least to me. But I've watched The Witch was a really good movie as well. I actually enjoy it a lot. I watch it constantly because it teaches me, or I sort of like find new things every time I watch that movie, and I've watched it about like 20 times. Other than that, I'm not really familiar with Hollywood movies or like Hollywood stuff because like I said, it's really, it makes it seem like it's an easy thing to pick up. It's a cool thing to do. It is cool, I'm not gonna lie. It's a really nice thing to do, but it also takes a lot of time, and the whole demon thing, manifesting and you flying across the room and stuff like that doesn't really happen when you're performing so sort of like exorcisms or cleanses, healing rituals, stuff like that. So that's the only down part about the whole Hollywood thing that I sort of don't like about them.
Y- Yeah, no, I could see that because it would be something that I think Hollywood tries to over exemplify or even possibly use past examples and past manuscripts of things that have happened or had
Yeah.
been reported to happen, and they try to over dramatize that. I mean, but at the same time I can understand why, because people, don't want to, go to the movies and see probably the real ceremony because it's not as
Yeah.
scary or
Yeah.
it's not as high action or high octane as they would like to see.
It'd be more like a teaching type of thing.
Yeah. But Carlos, I was thinking because I thought it was really interesting when you said that initiated and how you entered this kind of lifestyle.
Yeah.
I was wondering, like, how does one go about that? Because I'm sure it's not like an ad placed in a newspaper, or you can't go on Craigslist and say sorcerer is needed. And I wonder. I had like a two-part question to this because I wanted to know like how the whole initiation process, at least for you, like if there's like aspects you don't want to share, that's fine. If there's like everybody has their own kind of like, I guess, secrecy involved in being initiated into any type of society. And also, I guess the second part of my question is growing up, I grew up in a high Latino area, and I had a friend who had his abuela was a bruja, and he told us that, and I was like, "What is that?" He's like, "It means like a witch." And I was wondering if there's any difference between like possibly because I that's a lot of description for you to really make a sound judgment on, but if if you could kind of go into that and if it's any different possibly from what you do or if it's just any explanation on that would be fantastic because I've always wondered that when your friend tells you that his grandma's a witch, it's kind of
Yeah.
it's a little startling when you're 6 because you just have that
Yeah.
stigma of witches.
Yeah. So I'm gonna answer the initiation part first. So there's a lot of different initiations. I don't know if you are familiar with any, but at least with sorcery, it's a way of teaching that you do rituals for individuals. At least for me, the way that I had to do it was I would go to my grandmother's people or her clients, and she would say, well, this is, da 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 da, he's going to be the one doing your rituals or your cleanses. And of course things start manifesting throughout, weeks or months. Like, I always tell people, I can't tell you how long it's going to take, because everybody's different, so your cleanse could, or your ritual could take a week to manifest, maybe up to 2 or 3 months, I'm not sure. But you start seeing the changes of things. So for me, it was working basically for free for a long time, using, I guess, the ability and the teachings of my grandmother. The way she taught me was, the old way is you have to listen carefully, because I'm not going to repeat it twice. If I have to repeat it twice, then we're going to have an issue, So it's something that is taken very serious, and you get tested a lot. You get tested when it comes to these things, because this isn't, a lot of people think it's a joke to mess with sort of entities or dark forces or whatever, we want to call it. But it really isn't, because when things start to manifest and they start seeing things and stuff like that, then they know it's serious, So that was my initiation. I had to do basically charity work for her clients until she saw that I was ready and I was comfortable enough to do my own things. There's different initiations. I'm not so familiar with all of them, but I do know that in Palomayombe, which is a Cuban religion, they initiate you with blood. So it's a blood sort of path that you take. They also give you an enganga, which is, to them, it's like their altar. It consists of human remains. It consists of different types of tree branches and stuff like that, different types of stones. So it's, their initiation is when your tata, or your guide, gives you that type of, or at least gives you that it gives you that, that gift, because now you can start working. I know in Satanism they do blood rituals as well, where they sacrifice animals, and you have to drink the blood's animal and then give some to your deity, which is, would be Satan, because you become one with that entity, because he's choosing you, he's giving you his energy, so you sort of collide into one. I know in Agora as well, which is a Hindu belief, they get initiated by meditating over dead bodies, and basically doing cannibalism with the bodies. And to them, that's their spirit. They stole that body, so to them that's sacred, because that's their, I guess that's their path to heaven, to them, to Agori. So there's different types of initiations for everybody. It just depends on what sort of branch of witchcraft you want to lean towards, because it's really nice to learn all these things, but you can't really learn everything, because it'll take you a very long time to go through every initiation, through all
Yeah.
these things.
I I also think it's kind of funny too. Just real quick, I know it was a serious topic, but I think it's hysterical that just like modern business as well as sorcery, you have to perform an internship before you can get
Yeah.
promoted.
Yeah, basically, I mean, because think about it, this is something that you could possibly do for life,
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna lie to you, you're not gonna get you're not gonna be a millionaire from this thing, but a lot of us do this for a living. At least I do, and it's I'm not gonna say it doesn't pay well. It does, but at the same time, people don't understand that there's a lot of energy that goes into this, a lot of your time. There's times where I can't go out with my friends, or I can't go out with my significant other because I have to work at this certain time. I was telling, I think, Alex, I haven't slept in 2 days. Why? Because I've been doing candle lightings and chants and stuff. And this is just the beginning of a 6-day process, so I'm running on like at least 2 hours of sleep. It's a very hard thing to do, but it also, at least the pay for me is hearing the feedback that I get from my clients saying, thank you, it's manifesting, it's happening, whether they choose to get an X back or, get a better job, whatever the case is. It's nice to hear the nice feedback, That's what sort of keeps you going. But it is a very hard thing to do.
I think that's something that like does not get told a lot about is like that
No.
like you're not doing this like when like we were talking about a few minutes ago was like how Hollywood perceives all these witches to be like bad or not good. There's you never hear
Yeah.
like the good side and what they actually do to society to like improve people's lives. Like what you were saying, like you're spending countless nights like not sleeping, doing all these rituals. Would you call them rituals or what would you call them?
Yes. It is. They're rituals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you're doing these rituals to help people, and I don't think, I mean, at least for me, like that's something I guess I didn't know was like how you help others rather than
Yeah.
it not being a good thing to be a sorcerer, warlock, or a witch or anything like that. I do want to bring up the question though. This you said this is something that you shouldn't mess around with, and how would you? What are your feelings towards like a Ouija board now? Is that something that you don't suggest people using? Because this is something that was put out by, I think, Hasbro, was it? Or I'm not sure the company that makes it, but
Yeah.
like, what are your thoughts and feelings behind something like that? Because that I feel like is getting into sort of the witchcraft and everything like that, where it's like you shouldn't be messing around with this.
Yeah. So to us, every time you play with the Ouija board and stuff like that, you're opening portals. People play it because they think it's fake, so they want to try it. But what they do is, I'm not gonna say a massive ritual. It's a little ritual. Why? Because you're playing a game with either a spirit or a demon, whatever comes through. A lot of people think that angels are good, but angels aren't good as well. Because I have done rituals where I have made offerings to whatever comes through whatever portal I open. And it could be a spirit, a roaming spirit, a demon, even angels, because at the end of the day, they all they want is to feed, or all they want is to eat as well as much as we do. So whatever comes through, you're opening that portal. And when you open that portal, of course, most of the people freak out because the thing starts moving by itself. So now you throw it away, but the correct way of closing that portal is saying, "Hey, thank you for being here tonight. Is there anything we could do to help you? If you want an offering, we can do an offering for you, but you always have to say no blood offerings, because now you have to sacrifice an animal or something like that.
Mhm.
So that's the right way of doing it, of closing that portal, because the way that we see it is so many people are opening portals with playing with witchcraft and stuff like that. And that's why, at least to us, everything is going to crap. That's why there's so much negativity in the world, because everybody thrives around negativity, at least in social media. If you see somebody suffering, you cheer for that suffering. You get excited. You tell them good, screw them, whatever they're doing, or um if you see somebody getting stabbed or killed, you laugh for some odd reason. So this is the twisted thing that's going on, because people are opening up so many portals that it's all that negative larb, like sort of, like, I guess, like I say, all that negative energy latching onto us. We're like a sponge. That's why we need cleanses and stuff like that. So, it bothers me, but there's really nothing I could do about it other than to tell people this is how you should close that portal. And if you want to continue playing it, be careful. But I would suggest don't play it if you're gonna freak out.
Yeah.
I also think it's very interesting how you bring up the angels, because I know a lot of people believe in that. And before I say this, I hate the term Judeo-Christian because I feel like it invalidates, Jewish traditions, because it's like, oh, hey, you wouldn't have these Jewish traditions without the Christian ones. And we all know that, Judaism has been around for way longer. But so we have these like Christian ideals of the paintings from Europe where it's like, all angels are like blonde haired, blue eyed with these beautiful dove wings. And if you actually read the text, like there's angels that look like pyramids with like, like tentacles and like 50 eyes. And they're all these like crazy caricatures of like these monstrosities. And if you read these like texts, none of them are nice. Like if you actually read about Samuel, who is Satan, he fell because he got into an argument with God because he's like, hey, you're giving humans free will. You're damning them from the start.
Yes.
I won't allow you to damn them from the start. And that's why he sat in God's throne, is because God was kind of off his base from his point of view. And at that point, you kind of go, he was the only angel who actually cared about us at that point. And it's a kind of a strange dichotomy. And so when people are like, oh, the angels are nice, I'm like, no, they're like kind of these monsters that don't even understand us, save the one who fell in order to try to protect us.
Yeah. So that is in the book of Enoch. I really recommend those books as well. They're really good books because, he was damned because of, what you just said. But at the same time, it's like the way I see it is if he taught humans, or if these angels taught these humans how to make weapons, why would they need weapons? Right? Because it clearly says that these angels, not all angels were nice to humans. Some of them were trying to get rid of humans. So for people to think, or at least assume that angels are nice to us is very wrong, because they really weren't. But of course, a lot of people are gonna stand by what they believe, because to them it's, if they're going against God, so they wouldn't care to read other books
Yeah.
that have to do with those same texts that, or similar texts that the Bible has. And it's very it's very sad to see people sort of be brainwashed in a way like that. But yeah, I've always told people, whatever comes through these portals, there's a high chance it's an angel as well, and they will do whatever it takes to get rid of somebody without an issue. As long as you make the right offering, they will work for you.
That's very cheery, I guess.
So I will say this, and obviously these are just opinions and all of that. So to me, I have heard that same. So I am a Roman Catholic.
Yeah.
That's my belief.
Mhm.
To me, that there are two sides to angels. Is that you do have you have the fallen, and then you have per se the ones that work for God.
Yes.
So so to kind of hear that is a little mind bending, if that is a correct term, and all that. So it's a little interesting to kind of hear, but I think that's the best word to describe it, is interesting.
Mhm.
So one of the things that, while you're talking about that, so going back to being Roman Catholic, so like when we pray, okay, we are told that we have free will, so we can basically choose, and we're able to choose our path and the decisions and all of that. Then we have to deal with the consequences of those decisions, whether they're good consequences or bad consequences. And what we do is we ask for the intercession of God to help us find our way, because we say that it's God's will. It's we want to do what God's work is. That was kind of like the whole manifestation of why Jesus per se came down and became human, to show that there is a human side to God, or to manifest himself into a human, so we can relate to that. So that's where per se Jesus Christ came from, or the belief between Jesus Christ. So when you would do, or your belief, do you believe that you are asking for the intercession of certain, and I don't mean to, if it's the wrong nomenclature, I apologize. I don't ever want to insult, because I
No.
use a wrong term, but a being or a deity, or whatever you call it, do you ask for the intercession of that, or do you feel that you are making those choices, and it's you, like you physically saying, okay, this is what we're going to do, and we're waiting for the manifestation of whatever ritual we've just done, but that's the power that I've had in me because of the things that I've been taught, or the teachings or the study that I have done, or per se you have done, Carlos, to say, hey, this is the power that I have that I'm now passing to you? Or is it, like I said, through an intercession of deities that say, okay, they're working through me?
Okay, so everybody's different. I would say,
I'm just hoping that made sense.
no, it did. Yeah. So everybody's different, because the way that I usually explain it is I'm the middleman, you know. I am the one who sort of delivers the note,
Mhm.
to whatever presents itself. But, it's always, if something is meant to be, the higher power is going to approve it, which is God, right? So
Mhm.
if, let's say, for example, you are if you're a very shitty person to your significant other, right? And she got tired of your shit, and she left you. So now you hire one of us, let's say me, to do this work for you. We have to present that sort of, I guess we could, let's just call it a file. We present that to the higher power, you know, and we say, is this doable? If the answer is yes, then you feel it, you get told that it's a yes. If it's a no, same thing, you get told. A lot of us have that ability to hear, to feel, and to sense the energies, usually through our body. So, if something is meant to be done well, or if something is meant to be approved, it's approved by the higher power. Other than that, is being forced, and you're basically sort of throwing like a 50-50, you know. So for me personally, when I present my client to, you know, whichever deity I work with, I tell them, if you want to present yourself now, then do it, and things start moving around. You feel the energy, you get goosebumps, you start feeling that itchy feeling, or really like numb feeling all over your body. So that's when something manifests itself. Usually is what you call upon, you know, like for example, I work with Lilith. When I do love work, I call upon Lilith, and she always comes. Why? Because I've been a devotee of her for a very long time, so I consider her my mother. And when I call on her, she usually comes. And like I said, things start moving around. You start feeling it. You start feeling the energy. And of course, you have to pay the respects. So you always keep your head down, because you don't want to disrespect a higher power like that.
So one thing that's really standing out to me is that you said that your grandmother brought you into this life, and
Yes.
she was your I guess your teacher,
Yeah.
um and are your parents involved in this life too, or are they?
No.
So how
No.
does that work then?
it's the black sheep, I guess you could call it, man. It's that black sheep of the family because, a lot of people think, and I will say this from the heart, a lot of people see us as bad people because we're going, people say we're going against God, but we're really not. You know, we, I pray three times a day. You know, um, I pray, I talk to my deities, I talk to God. Um, so I'm a very spiritual human being, but people still see me as a bad individual when I tell them what I do for a living. But what they don't know is that, you know, I feed the homeless a lot. I help people with groceries. If I see people struggling to pay their groceries, I will buy their whole groceries. I will buy people food. I help as much as I can. I help a lot of people, so people don't really see that. And of course, I don't go around telling everybody because then that would make it a little weird, but a lot of people don't see this side of witchcraft where we help people because we have been sort of like the outcasts for so long that it feels right to help others when they're struggling. And that's just the way I was taught by my grandmother to help others because you're giving them that blessing, and of course, you get blessed back.
Now, do you think this is like the majority of how witches and sorcerers are, or do you think it's the number of, I guess, ones that are doing good outweigh the ones that are doing bad, or is it the other way around?
I've had my fair share of both. I have my fair share of those I guess say youngsters, those kids who are like 20 years old who claim to be Satanists and they're out here just killing animals, poor animals, and they call it a sacrifice, and they're messing with people and stuff like that. So I feel like it's a little bit of both, and then of course you have the people who like to scam others for money and then they blackmail them and stuff like that. um like I said, it's really out of my hands, but at least the community, or the people that are close to me, we we sort of feed off of each other's energy. We help each other, we help others. We sort of gather on a random day of the week and we'll just go and help people and stuff like that, because we like doing the good things. We're not bad people. you know it's it just feels nice to help others because at the end of the day we're all human.
Mhm.
Just like my grandfather said, at the end of the day you sit down and shit just like I do. So so
Everybody poops.
it's, yeah, so it's, you're no different than I am.
That's a very very interesting point that you make. I think you're right. I think people take it and because we want to try to start stereotyping if it's either from social media or from us growing up. I mean, like we're in the generation. I'm 38 years old. So I was kind of I feel that like there's been kind of like certain generational changes that happen. So from the 1920s to the 1950s, there was a big jump in how people look at things. From the 1950s to the 1980s, getting into the 90s, the thought processes changed, and there was a lot of, you know, um, oh well, this is not the old way of looking at it, so this is, so this must be wrong, and we don't, and then like into now, even to the 2020, obviously with the pandemic, and then obviously the political environment in the United States, and I'm not really too sure how in Mexico it is, but anybody who's, unless you're living under a rock, know the political state of the United States too. So I think that this generational change of how society looks at people is and it's, I think we're now becoming more accepting, but then there's some attitudes that are still out there that are like, well, no, that's still wrong. Well, you're not really necessarily looking at the full picture of what this is, and I think that you really kind of shed a light, because I didn't know probably 90% of the things that you just said, Carlos, and it's very refreshing, to hear, because obviously, once again, not bad, but everybody has that stereotype in their head of what they've been taught and what they've heard. Never once did I feel that, when Alex said, "Hey, we're going to have, you on, and this is going to be a subject that we're talking about," then I went over and said, "Well, this must be an evil person. He must be." No, I never thought that. But it's very. But I think it's very refreshing to kind of hear those things and to say, "Hey, you know what? This is a belief. This is,
Yeah.
people don't need to be, Islamic or Muslim, and they don't need to be Catholic, and they don't need to be Jewish, and say Judaism, and say, okay, these are only the right religions, or a Buddhist or whatever. It's like, no, this is a belief system, and if it means that, I have in my life, a thought process that you got to take care of three things. You got to take care of your mental health, you got to take care of your physical health, and then you got to take care of your spiritual health. And if one of those is lacking, then you really, that's where bad choices come from. That's where, to me, addiction can come from. That's where, and all of that. So
Yeah.
you need to. So if this is a belief that helps your spiritual self, and it's doing good, and it's not, evil intention, per se. I mean, it's like wow, this is really eye opening to me, and it's to me, it's just really, really interesting and very cool. When you said, hey, the person that you said, Lilith, and that's the person that you, or the, not person, but so that would be the deity that you
Yeah.
interact with, and you're saying, well, it's of love, and it's just like, well, that's really, that's really cool. It's like, this is the subject matter that I feel that I am called to, that helps me be fulfilled in my spiritual life. And you're right. Hey, this is what I do physically. I try to take care of the poor. I try to look out for my neighbor. I try to look out for people. And I just think that that's really, really,
Yeah.
It's very interesting to just kind of hear, and take out all the shitty stereotypes that are out there about, hey, because this is not per se the norm of what we've been taught as children, through the generations. That it's like, wow, it is really eye opening.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at it this way. Let's say you wake up on a Sunday morning, right? And you feel you had a dream. God called upon you and said, "Hey, I need you to do this thing for these people. Help these people out." It's the same thing with me, with us at least, or at least with me. I don't want to use us, because everybody's different. At least with me, I've always liked helping people. I go out to eat with my girlfriend, and I don't care how much I tip. Like, I'll tip really well. Even if I don't have much money, like that much money, I will tip as much as I can, and it's usually over 20%. Why? Because to me, that's my blessing to you, you know, because I wake up in the morning and I say, "Hey, Lilith, thank you for giving me another day of life," or, not just Lilith, but I have, other deities that I work with, like Kali, I work with Shiva. So, I wake up and say, "Thank you for giving me health. Thank you for taking care of my family, my loved ones. You know, now it's my turn to bless somebody." You know, it's just like, how you wake up from time to time and you just feel like helping people. It's the same thing with us. With me, like I said, don't get me wrong. I do sort of have my times of, anger and stuff like that, but it's, I don't take it out on people. It's just more of, I like to keep to myself, just so I don't say something bad to people, just like everybody else. Like I said, I'm just a human being, just like the next person is. So, it's a lot of people, or at least a lot of people, have given us the bad name. And, a lot of people who practice this don't help the fucking cause either. They've done some stupid stuff that, of course, give us that bad name, especially bands. A lot of bands who are into, like, black metal and death metal, stuff like that, they sort of put a bad name to us. But, I mean, it's a band at the end of the day.
Yeah. I don't mean to interrupt, but yeah, no, there's one out there that a couple of my friends absolutely love. And I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to drop the name for it, but as I call it, their look is harder than their music, and they call themselves like I call it the Avril Lavigne
I know
parody.
who you're talking
Oh yeah,
about. I know who you're
so it's
talking
like
about.
Oh, I
yeah,
think.
it's like Avril Lavigne dressed this
Yeah.
certain way, but then her music was very poppy, and it's just like that doesn't sound right. And it's like
Group that you're talking about
there's a metal band
has
out.
such a huge
Uh,
following for it too, and everybody dresses like hardcore, like black metal, and I'm like, get out of here! Like,
If it's the band that I think you're talking about, I think that's supposed to be a joke. That's supposed to be the joke of the whole band, that they dress so hardcore, but
yeah.
they're pretty soft. Like. But if you listen to some of their lyrics, they're actually.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't. I've been saying I don't like them. I actually do like them. I'm a hardcore heavy metal guy. I mean, the heavier the metal, the heavier everything is, the better
Yeah.
better I like it, and the more screaming I like. But it's just like sometimes there's like some
Yeah.
songs that pop out, and I'm like, are you sure? Like really? Like this is really what you sound like?
Yeah, it's a lot of bands have given this whole thing the bad name, but it is what it is. But like I said, a lot of people don't help it either because they do stupid things. They scam people. They they steal from people. They blackmail them and stuff like that. Or even then, when we do these things, we usually ask you for your information, which is your full name, your date of birth, and a picture of you. A lot of people would go the extra mile and be perverted and ask for nudes because they say, well, that's how I work. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
you don't need something like that. That's just you being a pervert.
yeah, no, Carlos, because I was thinking too, like when you were talking about like Lilith and angels and everything, I think it's a really interesting dichotomy, and I've kind of always noticed this that when you get the European notion of Christianity, there was quite a few witch burnings, like even in America with the
Hmm.
puritanical viewpoint of it. And it always fascinated me how
Yeah.
the mixture of like, voodoo, Santeria, Papa La Membe, the Cuban one,
Yeah.
I believe also, and hoodoo is that
Yeah.
mixture of, Christianity in order to, in the beginning, hide the practice of faith, but it became such an integral part of the practice itself where like now with like Santeria, voodoo, hoodoo, Papaloembe, like saints and those practices of Christianity have kind of like commingled. And when you were discussing like you working with people in your community, I'm sure there are many Christians among them who, however, the practice of old world belief is still very important to them, that they like, yes, I believe in Jesus Christ, he is the one true son of God, and that is what I believe. But at the same time, I also go to my local sorcerer to pay for an offering to get good benefits from albeit Lilith, or probably someone who may not be so good for the Christian faith that they would see as someone negative. And I love the fact that I think in a lot of that community that belief is still prevalent, because it's like, yes, we believe in all of this. We believe in Mother Maria of Guadalupe. However, we also believe in our old practices and traditions, and we don't ostracize people who do.
So, what's funny about that? I have a lot of clients that are Christian. And there's actually a thing now, a community of people who are Christian witches. I don't know what they do. I have no idea. And I plan on not going towards that area because to
Yeah.
me, it's like mixing water and oil, It just does not mix, at least to me, because they're so against it. But the way I've viewed these things where, I've had a lot of Christian clients who ask God, even pastors, you know, they ask God for, forgiveness from, they want their wife to forgive them because the wife caught them cheating with somebody else, or one of the sisters from, whatever, the church or whatever the case is. And God didn't grant them that wish. Why? Because, first of all, if you're a committed Christian, you shouldn't be cheating on your wife, especially with somebody from your own church. Um, a lot of them want money, you know, and since God doesn't want to give them money, guess where? Guess who they come to? To us. And to me, the saddest part is they look at you like you're trash. They talk to you like you're trash. They talk to you like you're just scum. And I've always told them, you need to share that same respect, because if I'm giving you the respect, I I, I would like to get the same thing back, because at the end of the day, you're looking for my services because your God didn't want to do that for you. So you're coming to me to make that happen for you.
Well, I also think it says a lot about the person too. It's like, oh, hey, you're a trash human being because you're a sorcerer, but I've been banging everybody at behind my wife's back. So even if
Right.
Christian, I think most people are just against that because when you make a committed relationship, unless that's a part of your relationship where you're like, hey, we're open in this sense, so no hard feelings if we do this. But if you're like, no, I completely devote myself to you and I'm banging everyone behind your back, you're kind of a trash bag too.
Yeah. But to them it's because to them they see it different, because they praise God, they think they're better than you, which is sad at the end of the day to me, because just like you said, you're you're cheating on your significant other who you sleep with in the same bed every night, who you claim you love so much. But like I said, to them we're still the scum at the end of the day, which is totally fine. It doesn't. I feel like I'm one of like the I don't get offended. So like whatever they people call me names. People like to talk shit to me and stuff like that. At the end of the day, it's like that's fine. I still have my own belief, and my belief has gotten me in a better mental place. Um, because it's this has saved my life. In other words, we've all going through that depression phase and suicidal thoughts and stuff like that. So for some of us, this is something is that saved our life.
It's important to you.
Yes.
It's your life. It's your belief. Like I said, like I was talking before, it's your spiritual,
Yeah.
it's your spiritual health. And if this is, this is how you feel, and this is what makes you be a better person, spiritually, and then from there it helps manifest itself into your
Yeah.
physical and to your mental state, then how could this be bad, type sort of thing. That's where, once again, I was talking earlier about opening up and being open to the beliefs of people and the thoughts, and then just going back to what you and Mark were talking about. I find that always amazing when it comes to any religion, and the thought of the belief of people is that people will be, I don't look this way. I want to look more attractive. God, make me more attractive. God, I don't have enough money. Where's the money going to come from? God, this person doesn't like me. Make them fall in love with me. Or I don't like this person. How come nothing is happening to them and all the shitty things are happening to me, and all of that. And it's like, that's not what religion is. And that's not what God is. And that's not what, in my version of what God is, you shouldn't ask for those things. Those things are the blessings that you get for being a good person. And to me, spiritually, it's like, yeah, if you're one, everybody wears a mask. Everybody has their own private life and their own mental, state, and then everybody has what they, you know, throw to people or show people. And it's like, if you're not receiving these things because you want them in your life, whether it's a physical, or non-physical, state of mind where you feel good, or you feel comfortable, or you have enough money, or whatever it is, it's like, well, if you're a shitty person and you're doing the shitty things, don't go to religion to say, how come this stuff is happening to me? It's like, you're right. It's your choices. You know, and it's like the fact that they're going to come back and like it's God was supposed to be there for me, but he let my father die. Well, that's nature. That's human. That's a natural
Yeah.
progression of things that happen. Yeah, does it suck on on some levels? Absolutely. It sucks on levels. Absolutely. But you can't go to somebody and say, "Well, God, you did this." It's like, no, I didn't. I didn't wish death upon. God didn't say, George, now you're going to die today. Like doesn't happen. So yeah, I once again, I just this talk of a lot of the belief that I have is very interesting on how it's really kind of a true universal belief. Really, it's just a different way of going about it. Like, I sit in my room and I pray, or I go to church. You have your different rituals of how you do
Mhm.
things, but if you really look at it, it's the same thought process, if that makes sense. It's the same, like, we're not wishing
Yeah.
bad upon people. We want good for people. We want people to be better and to be healthy and to be happy. It's just we believe, there's a different way of doing it. There's a different avenue per se.
Yeah. So, I have a funny story about how you're saying, how people want to curse others, but it doesn't happen or anything like that. When I was younger, this woman would always say, fuck God and this and that and stuff like that. And she would always curse at God, because her son got killed. And she said the day that my son died, I stopped believing in God because she took him. But then in my head, I used to think, your son was a gang member.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
You look for your own demise. You look for
Yeah.
your own fucking demise, So it's like, don't blame others for your shitty choices, It's stupid. And she would always say that stuff. I've never been the type to say, what, fuck God, or when every time I leave my home, or every time I'm on the phone with my mom, she always says, may God be with you. And I'm not gonna say, what, I don't believe in your God. I would say thank you. You too. Because I'm polite like that. I don't want to disrespect my mom's belief, and she doesn't disrespect mine. Um, but I've never been that type of person who says, screw your God, or your God isn't, your God is shit, or whatever the case is. I've never done that before in my life. But this woman would always, say that, and she would always make fun of one of our neighbors who was handicapped, or disabled, and she would always make fun of him. Well, the way I saw what happened to her, she had an accident, and she ended up in the same sort of thing, like the same. I guess she had like some sort of paralysis type of thing that happened to her when she had that accident, and she ended up in the same sort of situation that this person was in, that she used to make fun of. And to me, that was like, okay, that's what you get. That's, you asked for it. Why? Because you shouldn't do any of those things that you're saying. For one, curse at a higher power, and two, make fun of somebody who's innocent. They've never done anything to you. So why would you make fun of somebody like that? Um, and to me, like, as I was growing up, I would say, well, I guess that's what you get. That's what happens when you mess with these type of things, in a bad way. You end up in the same situation that you made fun of somebody because they were in. So I've never made, fun of anything like that. I've always been respectful of people's beliefs. I have clients that are Muslim, and they always say, will this be a bad thing because I'm going against God's rules? And I always tell them, I'm not your parent. I'm not your father. I'm not your mother. I can't tell you what to do. If you want to do this, then it's really up to you at the end of the day. If your religion is that serious, I would suggest you don't do it. But like I said, at the end of the day, the mind is stronger than people's hearts, I guess. or believe, because I would say 90% of them end up doing something horrible or paying me to do something horrible to another person because they're holding a grudge against them, you know? So I feel like it's just a human being that is twisted at the end of the day.
I
think,
guess
Carlos, the
for
dominant societal. Oops, sorry.
oh no, that's okay. Go. Why? Why don't you go ahead? We've been talking quite a bit.
No, I just wanted to raise this point that the dominant societal concern, I think, Carlos, for those practicing witchcraft is not whether it is effective, but whether it could cause harm.
Yeah, a lot of them look towards that. A lot of them are worried about sort of being harmed in a way. And I always tell them, no, you will not be harmed from it unless you are seeking to get rid of somebody, to make somebody sick with witchcraft. Then you should really be careful. And usually I protect them as much as I can from any sort of backfire. But it's at the end of the day, if we believe in karma, then there you go. If we believe in reincarnation, then you might pay for what you did in this life and the next. It's all based on the belief. It's all based on your belief. But for me, as in the present, I take care of my clients when they're trying to do something horrible. When they're trying to destroy somebody, or they're trying to bury somebody in a in a burial ground. If they're trying to get somebody sick, whatever the case is, I usually protect them as much as I can. Just so that they don't, they don't suffer from anything.
So, you did say that you were sort of the black sheep of the family because your parents do not practice the same thing.
Yes.
However, you try to give it back to the society. You help the society. I'm sorry, we're going back a bit, but I just wanted to
Yeah.
understand. Do you think you have to try harder to show that you're not a bad person, given the perception society has?
No, because I'm just who I am. I've always been like this as a kid. I've always, you know, I've always been the kid who shares my meal with somebody else. I've always been the type to say, if I have $5, then we're getting a meal for two, and we'll get a meal and we'll share it. So it's nothing that I have to try twice as hard to prove that I'm a nice person. I do it because it makes me happy to help people, because I like to see people smile and see them happy. That's what sort of makes my day.
I would like to kind of ask a question because we were just talking about, like what people pay you to do, and you said that people can, I guess, request from you to do something negative to somebody else. Because to me, it seems like you're a very nice guy, and the whole point of this conversation was to kind of like express how these stereotypes are wrongs, but then if someone is paying you to do something negative to somebody else, how does that affect you as the practitioner doing something negative to somebody else? I feel like you're just requesting a lot of bad karma coming your way from doing that. How does one get affected by that, and then what do you do to, I guess, to protect yourself from the negative repercussions?
I'm neutral about it. My feelings don't get in the way of it. I will say I've made my mistakes when I was younger. I've done things to people as well that I didn't think twice about, and I've done it through witchcraft. I regret it, but then at the same time, I can't look back at it anymore. Why? Because it would be me taking 20 steps back from the progress of, the mental growth and spiritualism that I've gained throughout the years. I'm always neutral about whatever I have to do when it comes to my work. It's like, it's something that I have to be neutral about, because I can't let my feelings get in the way of it, because if it doesn't manifest, then it's on me now. And let's say, for example, you're my client, and whatever you paid me for, because like I said, I don't charge a small thing. I charge a pretty penny for what I do. And let's say you paid me $800 for a love spell and it doesn't manifest, then you're going to be pissed off at me. Why? Because now you're $800 short and whatever you paid me for didn't happen. So I have to always keep my feelings out of it. Of course, through all this work, you have to get cleanses. You have to have people who help you sort of basically brush all that negative energy that you sort of gathered from working. Got to brush it off, you got to cleanse yourself. You got to take a good amount of showers with herbs, with salts, stuff like that, just to get all that bad energy off of you. Or else, then shit starts going south for you as well. It's sort of something that, it has to be done, but I always try to be neutral when it comes to doing whatever work I have to do, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm neutral about it because I'm just like I said, I'm just the middleman. I'm just the middle person and I present what has to be done. Um I always tell my clients, if you're looking to harm this person because you're holding a grudge, then I suggest you be careful. But if you are doing it because they did you wrong, I've had a lot of clients who come to me because they have family issues where the stepmom is mistreating the woman's kids or the father's kids, whatever the issue is, then it's justified. It's sort of the karma type of thing. We could look at it that way. um so the way I see it is they deserve it. You don't mess with children. You don't mess with people who aren't doing anything to you. It's something that I don't mind doing. I don't play that white witch stuff where, I say, well, that's against, somebody's will. Because at the end of the day, it's either I do it or somebody else does it. And, I know what I'm capable of doing. So, it's more of my the path that I chose to do, this is what I chose to do for a living. You know, I do it as much as I can, but like I said, it's always the neutral thing. Whether you're doing good things or bad things, you have to be neutral about everything. Can't get your shitty day get in the way of your work.
No, that makes sense, Carlos. It really does. I feel like that kind of happens with. It's unfortunate too, especially like with what you were saying. Like if they pay all this money and like something doesn't work, it's like I can understand like that. That has to be even frustrating for you too. I mean, like how do you? I guess how do you go about explaining that to your client or the people that you're trying to help? Like, do you tell them like, hey? This may or may not work. Do you let them know that beforehand?
Um, I don't want to sound cocky, but the amount of money that I charge, I bust my ass. I make sure that it happens. Like I said, it's sometimes there has been times where it doesn't manifest the first time, and not a lot of my clients know this. Only a few. But if it doesn't work the first time, then I redo it, and
Mm.
this time it's coming out of my pocket. So it's more of like I have to make sure that it happens the first time, because if it doesn't happen the first time, then I'm $800 short. And I have bills to pay just as much as the next person does. So you sort of have to put the extra effort to make sure that it happens the first time. You know, so it's a lot of people say, well, I hope you know that this may or may not happen. To me, the way I was taught is you always have to be confident in your craft. If you're not confident enough to know that you're going to make it happen the first time, then you shouldn't be doing it. Same thing when people say, I think. When somebody, when people ask questions about, oh, well, how should I do this? And they say, well, I think you should do it like this. And then to me, it's sort of like I discard you completely, because it's like, by you saying you
Mhm.
think, that means you don't know. You have to be sure what you know how to do. It's like if we ask a surgeon, hey, can we perform this heart surgery. I think we can, I think we might be able to.
I don't ever want to hear that on the operating table.
How do you feel about this one, doctor?
And, I think we'll be fine, So it's something that you have to be sure about.
Yeah, the blue one connects to the red one, right, guys?
If I touch the side, am I going to get zapped?
So, it's something that you have to be really sure about, it's you get so many questions from these people asking you for simple things, when they claim to have been practicing for so many years. I've had people come and ask me, "Hey, what do you think I can do to bring my ex back?" And the answer is pretty clear. And I always tell them, "How long have you been practicing for?" They say, "Well, I've been practicing for 5 years." And I'm like, "And you can't really figure out this simple thing because it's really simple." And I'm like, maybe you should get back to your books instead of actually doing rituals, Or people ask me questions about how many candles they should light. You should know that it's basic thing. It's basic stuff that you learn from the beginning. So it's, to me that indicates that people aren't really either initiated or they rely on Google, like I said earlier, Google or YouTube for these rituals, because they have to keep asking questions about simple things, but they claim to be.
Well, I think this also talks about how important it is to also be initiated into this and have a proper teacher and have all of these steps followed. It's not just like something you want to dive into.
I will say a lot of people who don't get initiated don't even know how to protect themselves. I don't know if you have seen people in public or stuff like that. They have little red bracelets. They have little red anklets, or copper bracelets or necklaces, stuff like that. Those are protections against, negative things, witchcraft, stuff like that. A lot of people don't even know what those things are. They just think they're cool necklaces, But to us who practice witchcraft, we can spot you from afar. We can spot you because we'll see a necklace that you're wearing, and it could be, a crystal, or it could be something that you made. It can even be a chicken bone. I wear, I wear bones as necklaces, and people know already what I do or what my belief system is. But a lot of these kids, a lot of these younger people don't have an idea, but yet they're actually doing rituals, and they're practicing. And all that is doing is just picking up negative energy. And then, they start doing bad things. Things start going bad for them. They start getting really depressed because they pick up LARPs, they pick up negative energy. And all that shit is eating them up, They get suicidal, they start kneeling towards drugs and stuff like that, So it's in the spiritual world, to us, that's what causes this issue that, they start messing with these things and they don't know how to do it. They're not well protected. That's basic things. Like I said, it's basic to me and to all my students that I've had. I've always told them, get your protections first. Before anything, you need to be protected, because once we get our hands on and we're doing rituals, then there's a high chance you can get, you can pick something up and it's not going to be nice, because they get you sick. It's bad things that feed off of you. You get sick constantly, you lose weight, you get really depressed, suicidal, stuff like that. You start feeling side effects. A lot of people get lightheaded or massive headaches, and they just come out of the blue. So it's, to us, it indicates that, you pick something up. So, I always say you have to be well protected before you even do anything. But a lot of people don't know about that. They just claim to be witches and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no. How does one find a teacher for this? Like, how do if someone actually wants to take the necessary proper steps in becoming initiated and going about this the right and correct way? How does somebody find someone who's willing to teach them? Because I'm sure you just can't go to the yellow pages. I'm sure you just can't go, type in a Google search and say, "Hey, I want to get initiated. Where do I find?" Well, I'm sure you could with Google now, but where's the proper way of finding something?
I'm going to be really, really impressed if Carlos says, "Yeah, if you turn to the yellow pages here, you'll find it."
Well, I'll eat some humble pie on that one too. Then
It's honestly, you can go to, they call them botanicas. You can go little, I call them the little local witchcraft stores, where they sell, esoteric stuff. Usually we have, or they usually, they have a lot of business cards there for people who do tarot readings, who are mediums, practitioners, stuff like that. Um, it all depends, to be honest. If this is something that is born within you, then you pick it up quick, and it's not hard to find somebody, because we sort of see the glow in you. We sort of see the power that you hold, and of course, we usually speak to you and we initiate you into things like this. But for somebody who wants to learn, honestly, a lot of people have come to me from Reddit. A lot of people have come to me from, some of my clients who have, referred them to me, and they ask me if I teach. I never say no to anybody. There's, like I said, there's always a charge for everything. This isn't like the old days where everything was done for free and stuff like that. Sadly, we all have the addiction of food and drinks and water. So there's always a charge for 99% of the time. There's going to be a charge for rituals, readings, even teachings. Because it's something that you're sort of like handing down to somebody else. You're hoping they will carry it on to somebody else, and keep your work going eventually as time goes. I would if somebody's interested into these things, at least here, if you're like in the California area or stuff like that, then I mean, honestly, there's even courses online now too. To be honest, you can you can take classes like that of basic things. Yeah, you can try to do it yourself, but it's gonna take you way longer to be self-taught than to have a guide, because when you're in a state of meditation, you're sort of vulnerable, and there has to be somebody watching you at all times, just in case something goes south. So I always recommend, finding a guide or a guru or a teacher, whatever we want to call it, to take you through the whole process of becoming a witch, I guess we could call it.
All right. Well, Carlos, is there, I guess before we wrap things up, is there anything else, I guess, as far as anything you would like to just let everyone know about your craft and about what you do? Is there like, for all the listeners out there, is there anything that you've wanted to like just let people know about witches, warlocks, sorcerers, everything?
Um, yeah, it's don't sort of keep that same belief that people have been taught throughout the years, that we're bad people, because we're really not. At least a big percentage of us aren't. We're a really nice community, friendly community. Um, some of us might be a little bit colder towards people and hard-headed towards people, but it's just the way we were taught. And I'm speaking for myself. I don't care if I hurt your feelings. We're all adults, but don't keep that same belief. And most of us people who practice aren't really, we don't really dress like we're witches either. We dress like normal people. I like to, you'll never see me wearing the weird clothing gothic shit that people assume we wear. Some of us like to dress on the fancy side and designer stuff, like me. So it's, we're normal people. We bleed just like everybody else, and it's a nice belief system. It teaches you something. It teaches you a different way of living, of life. And just like Dan said, it makes, if that's what sort of keeps you happy and in a good mental state, then give it a try. It'll get you places for sure. Not a millionaire, but it'll it'll make you happy. That's what matters, at least.
I think you've shed a lot of good light, and like what Dan, Mark, and Rove said, like opened our eyes, and probably to our listeners too, like a whole different aspect to what you believe and everything like that. And I just want to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, it means a lot that you took your time out of your day and everything like that to come and inform us of what you do. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for having me.
No, Carlos, I'm sure I speak for everybody else, but if everybody else has anything different, we would love to have you back on the show again to even talk about other aspects of this and kind of keep you as a part of our what we call our extended family. And so, because there's a lot of aspects we don't know about, but I'm sure we would love to have you talk and kind of expound on some of those issues we might not be as well versed in.
Yeah, I'm honestly, like I said earlier, I'm an open book. I'm open to to talk about anything, to be honest, from the negative things to the positive things to the spiritual trips that people have. I personally, a lot of people use drugs, or at least weed, or mushrooms to do these things. Me personally, I've never smoked in my life. I've never drank in my life. So, to each their own. But like, I'm an open book to whatever you guys want to speak about when it comes to this stuff. Yeah, there's like no boundaries for me, to be honest.
Very cool. Yeah, like I said, Carlos, as everybody else is saying, I think this is, I've I'm that Roman Catholic,
Yeah.
so it's kind of like, well, or you really should be talking about this, and it's like, it's like, no, let's talk about this. Like, this is cool. Like, this is, I lack for a better phrase, but this is, very interesting and and all that. So yeah, I thank you for sharing.
Yeah, no problem. And like I said, if you guys really want to sort of understand this whole life, I would really recommend watching The Old Ways. Like I said, it's on Netflix, and it's a really, really good movie. So I recommend it.
Well, I think we're all going to watch that tonight, Carlos.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really, it's not something you pick up from one day to another, but it's really, really good. It's a good movie.
I'm just going to add it to my queue because people are now telling me I should watch what is this, Squid Games. So
Yeah, I finished watching that too. It's really good, actually.
Oh.
See, and that's another thing. We're normal people. We watch the same shows that every normal family does. I play a lot of video games in my spare time. So I'm just as normal as everybody else.
Really, Carlos, we'll talk after this. So,
All right, Carlos. I mean, thank you again for coming on the show. To all of our listeners out there, you can catch us on Spotify, iTunes now, Mark, correct? We finally got that up and going.
Yeah. iTunes tyrannical album art has been satisfied, so they have accepted our offering. Wow. Saying that now after this whole conversation, I'm going, what am I doing? But yeah, no, they've accepted our album art, and we are now on iTunes.
Awesome. That's great. And you can also catch us on Podbean too. I will put all the descriptions below so you can catch us. Dan, Mark, Ro, do you have anything that you'd like to put out?
Don't forget Google.
no, just thank you for downloading us and listening to us and all of that. So,
Yeah. We always love more. And if you guys ever want to have any conversations, we're on Twitter. Find us on there at Abby Normals. And we also have the Discord. So if you would ever like to join the Discord, we'll try to get that up on our Twitter as well. So we can get conversations going and recommendations from all of you on what you would like us to talk about.
Perfect. All right. This is the Abby Normals. End of transmission.